welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because it's only natural rather than supernatural. Get it? My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are still being published once per week in mini-seasons, kind of like The Walking Dead. So subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes or Stitcher Radio to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows, including, but not limited to, Doctor Who, Downton Abbey, How to Get Away with Murder, Broadchurch, Marvel's Daredevil and Jessica Jones, Once Upon a Time, New Girl, The Vampire Diaries, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, and The X-Files from its inception through its revival. We've taken a look back at True Blood, Ally McBeal, Futurama, and Desperate Housewives, and more episodes are in the works, including revisits for Game of Thrones, Orange is the New Black, and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, plus our DC Television Universe panel will shortly be covering Arrow Seasons 3 and 4 and The Flash Seasons 1 and 2. We'll be starting up a new series covering all seasons of American Horror Story with rotating moderators that you won't want to miss, and we'll be taking one of our looks back at the popular, critically acclaimed HBO drama 6 Feet Under. What's more, CPU! Is going live! In August and September, we will be live streaming 2 of our podcast panels in front of a live studio audience. On August 8th, CPU is joining forces with Grand Rapids, Michigan-based troupe No Outlet Improv for Comedy Outlet Mondays. We will be live at Dog Story Theater and streaming live on the web. Make sure you like us at our Facebook page, our Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, and our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, or our Stitcher Radio channel, and leave comments and reviews, and above all, keep abreast of how to subscribe to the live feed for these new CPU events. In the meantime, if you don't hear a show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we're always seeking new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any one of our outlets aforementioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, at least of the constructive type. Today, we're around the water cooler and reflecting upon seasons 9, 10, and 11 of long-running cult favorite Supernatural, which airs September through May on the CW. Season 9 aired from October 8, 2013 to May 20, 2014. Season 10 aired from October 7, 2014 to May 20, 2015. And Season 11 aired from October 7, 2015 to May 25, 2016. Season 11, the most recent season, aired on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Supernatural is an American fantasy horror series created by Eric Kripke. It was first broadcast on September 13, 2005 on the WB, and subsequently became part of successor the CW's network lineup. Starring Jared Padalecki as Sam Winchester and Jensen Ackles as Dean Winchester, the series follows the 2 brothers as they hunt demons, ghosts, monsters, and other supernatural beings in the world. The series is produced by Warner Brothers Television in association with Wonderland Sound and Vision. Originally, Kripke planned the series for 3 seasons, but later expanded it to 5. The 5th season concluded the series' main storyline, and Kripke departed the series as showrunner. The series has continued on for several more seasons with new showrunners, including Sierra Gamble, Jeremy Carver, Robert Singer, and Andrew Dabb. With its 11th season, Supernatural became the longest-running North American fantasy series. The series has been renewed for a 12th season, which will premiere on October 13, 2016. Speaking of our panel, several CPU! Faithful vociferously volunteered to be part of this panel, which has an enthusiastic cult fandom, of which our chief couch potato and several panelists are members, to gather around the water cooler and discuss the state of this epic long-running series about the 2 monster-hunting Winchester brothers. I think it's safe to say that my fellow panelists and I are ready to hit the road in our trusty 67 Chevy Impala named Baby and to get it started. So as always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed the entire series through season 11 and may discuss sensitive plot points across all the seasons. For those of you who haven't watched any Supernatural and plan to catch up at some point, listen at your own risk as there are going to be major spoilers. At this time, I'd like to introduce the panel. They are all familiar voices. If you follow any of our other podcasts, chances are you've heard them at least once. But for the CPU loyal and anyone else, here's the drill. I'm going to ask them to identify themselves by their first name. Tell me how you came to watch Supernatural, what made you watch, what kept you watching, where are you in the whole watching of it? And then I'm going to ask you to answer the standard Couch Potatoes Unite character question because I'd like you to rate your interest in the show. Now, what's unique about Supernatural is that there are only 4 main characters. So it's a very small choice. I hope you've given it some thought. Okay, so how would you rate your interest in Supernatural? Are you ready for this, guys?
Very ready.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Jen, you don't seem so sure.
I had to think about those 4.
I know, right? It's a hard choice. How would you rate your interest in Supernatural? Do you watch it because hunting is your life and or because you love the show, hunting, and or the show about hunting? For you, it's keep grinding until the end or until you die. Also, you're really into Baby, the Impala, most fried meats, the awesome use of classic rock, and pie. Or you watch it because your brother watches it, like Dean Winchester. Or you can also think of it as you're a Dean fan girl, or guy if you want to be, Nick. Do you watch it because you were reluctantly convinced to watch this show about the lives of 2 brothers demon hunting, but now you can't imagine your life without the show or demon hunting? Also, you're deeply concerned by the moral implications of what the brothers do and the inherent good and evil impulses of humans, the beings you hunt, angels, and demons. Or you watch it because your brother watches it, like Sam Winchester, i.e. you're a Sam fan. Do you watch it because your best friend watches it, and or because your best friend is deeply committed to hunting, and even though you shouldn't really be involved with his or her actions or decisions, you trust your best friend's judgment and moral center? Also, you don't have the greatest decision-making track record yourself, despite the fact that you're such an angel, like Castiel. Are you a Cass fan? Or do you watch it because you like to keep your friends close but your enemies closer, and even though you might be the king of hell, you tend to bore easily and the show clearly entertains you on some level, you at least seem to care about the main characters more than you should. Plus, you enjoy referring to Sam and Dean as Moose and Squirrel, like Crowley. Who would like to start?
I could start first because I don't think I'll mess up the intro like I always do.
Yay!
So my name's Nick.
Hi, Nick!
I started watching it because I had Netflix and I was trying to find a new show and I heard this had some connections to X-Files, so I started watching it and I liked it. I think I'm Crowley because I'm always suspicious because they've definitely found their structure and it's almost too structured where you know how it's gonna kind of end and wrap up and you're just filling in, is it Leviathans or demons or the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse? But I'm still entertained enough to keep coming back.
All right. So you're the king of hell?
Sure.
All right. Well, welcome back, Nick. Ooh.
Hey, I'm Kelsey.
Hey, Kelsey.
Hey, I started watching this show. I think this is one of the only shows I've ever watched from the very beginning. And I started watching it because the trailers looked super cool. I was living with my brother at the time while we were going to college, and we both were like, oh my god, amazing! And we're like instantly hooked.
Uh-huh.
And even though I was like, seasons 1 through 5 are my favorite, like I keep watching anyway. I'm like a big combination of all of these things, especially like with my brother watches it, blah blah blah. But I'm definitely a Cass fangirl, so I guess I will go with that. And also my best friend is obsessed with this show.
It's true.
So
vouch for that.
that we like to get together and call it boys' night and we watch it. And that is the end.
All right. Welcome back, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jen, and I believe I came to watching this show because of Kylie.
Woohoo!
I think it was like 3 years ago. I think it was right before season 9.
Sure.
Because I remember watching season 9 when it was season 9.
Okay.
So I think during season 8, you had talked about it, and I was like, oh, it sounds kind of interesting. And then when you said Jensen Ackles was on it, I was like, oh, I loved him from Days of Our Lives. So let's just see what the show is all about. I do like supernatural stuff. And I actually had a hard time. The first couple episodes, I couldn't quite get into it, but of course, because Jensen was in it, kept me watching, and it did. Thank God, it got a lot better, because I think you'd probably get old just watching him and not, enjoying the plot or anything. Although maybe not. So yeah, and I literally binge watched all 8 seasons by the time season 9 came out. Okay. I mean, it was like 6 months worth of watching 8 years worth. That is insane. It's one of the few shows I've actually done something like that. But we're talking, I'd watch a whole season in one day. So,
wow.
So I think I'm all 3, the first 3.
Okay.
The first 3. Because I'm a Sam fan and I'm a Dean fan. Of course, I'm a Dean.
Team Free Will.
But I do like Castiel. Castiel has really grown on me. I didn't care for him at first. But now in the later from probably season 9 on, I really, really, really like him. He's a great actor, the guy that plays him. Misha. He's one, I do remember his name. But.
Well, welcome back, Jen.
Oh, man. Okay.
It's your turn.
I am Allie.
Hi,
I'm
Allie.
Kylie's niece.
Thanks for putting that out there.
Yep. I started watching Supernatural. I remember vividly. It was like September of 2013. And I don't know really why I started watching it. I think I just knew people who were, and I was like, ooh, something supernatural. And I've been watching The Vampire Diaries before that, too. So I was into the idea of it, and then I started it, and I was like, this is really unique. Like, I had never seen anything like it before, and it quickly became a gigantic obsession.
I can vouch.
Yeah, I talk about it all the time. It's kind of annoying. So, yeah, and as for characters, I'm probably a Dean just because I love it so much. I mean, I relate to Sam more, but yeah, I would say I'm a Dean Winchester.
All right. Welcome back, Allie.
Thank you.
Well, yes. And, of course, my name is Kylie. And my story of watching Supernatural, I mean, if you follow the blog or you know me personally, I've mentioned this several times. And actually, an entry like this is going to come out in a week or so. I look to see what's coming out in the fall. I've been doing that for years. That's because I love TV so much. And in 2005, I became aware that Supernatural was going to be a new show. All that was being said about it was 2 brothers who drive across the country and hunt monsters and urban legends. That's all they said. Mm-hmm. So I thought to myself, okay, well, this could be either really good or kind of stupid. I didn't get to see any trailers. So what convinced me to tune in is 3 things. First of all, I did have a huge X-Files void in my life because it was 3 years from when the X-Files stopped, and I knew that there were X-Files people that were involved in it, including one of the main directors who has since passed away, Ken Manners. So I felt it would be, there'd be a good vote for quality there. The second reason I watched it is because of Jensen Ackles, but not from Days of Our Lives. He was also on Smallville. He played Lana's boyfriend for a season. And I didn't like Lana, but I loved Jensen Ackles.
I'm going to go and watch that show.
I know, right?
Dawson's Creek, too, right? Wasn't he on that briefly?
I didn't watch Dawson's Creek.
I don't either. I've just heard things.
So I knew of Jensen. He was very hot on Smallville as well. He's remained hot for the entire time. I didn't really know Jared as much. I knew he was coming from Gilmore Girls. To this day, I have not seen an episode of Gilmore Girls, though it is on my list because everybody raves about Gilmore Girls. But I knew Jensen would at least be in it. And then the third reason is the genre. I'm a huge fantasy fan. If you tell me fantasy, I will probably watch it. And even though it was a little bit horror the way they were making it, advertising it, it didn't seem to be like a true horror TV show. It was just more bridging into that genre. And if you follow CPU at all, you know that The X-Files is one of my most favorite shows. Nick's most favorite show. We're both on that panel together. So, be that as it may, I watched Supernatural. From the first and I watched it live. Like, I watched the pilot when it aired on the WB live. Within the first 5 minutes, it's one of the only pilots I've ever seen that starts with a cold open. When Jessica gets sucked up to the ceiling and set on fire, I literally, and I still remember it, I literally went, whoa, what just happened? In the first 5 minutes, and I knew from that moment it would not be stupid. I mean, if I had the CPU rating scale back then, it would have been 5 stars on that first 5 minutes. And I was hooked for life. And when I say for life, I mean number 4, LYFE. So, how would I rate my interest in this show? I'm clearly a Dean girl. All the way, all the things. I don't care about fried meat so much. I mean, I like it, it's fine. But I love all the other stuff, including pie, and I'm very excited to talk about Supernatural today. Supernatural is one of my all-time favorite shows, and I think you'll feel the passion. Is it consistent? No, but we'll talk about that too.
Feelings will come out.
Feelings will come out. And so we'll get there. Now, I do want to remind the listener we are covering 3 seasons today because we have to catch CPU up. The last time that Couch Potatoes Unite covered it in blog format was, in fact, the first part of Season 9 and the end of Season 8. So we're going to catch up on Season 9, 10, but probably a lot of the discussion will center around 11 because that's the most recent season. And I'm going to venture to say probably everyone's going to think it's the best of those 3 anyway because it was amazing. So let's start talking. I'd like you now to think back to Season 9, which you can otherwise think of as the Metatron season. That's when we first really get Metatron in a deep dive kind of every episode way, or the angels on Earth. This is after the season finale when the angels fell from heaven because Metatron did bad things and Sam was trying to close the gates of hell and Dean stopped him from doing the trials or the end trial and he almost died. And then angels fell to earth. Remember that?
Vividly.
All right. So what I'd like to ask you is, what did you think of Season 9? What did you like? What didn't you like? And how does it compare to previous seasons for you? Don't think 10 and 11 right now. Just think 9 or earlier. Go.
For me, I think it was okay. It wasn't as bad as like Season 7.
Season 7.
Oh man.
Otherwise known as the Leviathan season.
Oh yeah, I didn't care for him.
It was.
I'm glad it was brief.
Yeah, I have a lot of angst about that. Yeah, so I think for me, the premiere of Season 9 was pretty top-notch, but like I was saying before, they do really well with premieres and finales, so yeah, I think that's my general idea on it. I liked the Mark of Cain.
That didn't come out until 10, did it? Or did they put it on him at the end of Season 9?
Well, because he went to the Men of Letters.
It was the end of 9.
Yeah.
They find Cain, right?
Yeah.
Timothy.
And that's when he got the first blade because he
That's when he did get the first.
He talked to that descendant of the Men of Letters and sort of went through a moment of holding it for the first time. So there's that.
That's true. Good call.
Thanks.
I thought Season 9 was probably it was starting to get better.
Yeah.
The Season 7 and 8 wasn't the greatest, especially 7, but with Metatron I thought I love the actor. I can't remember his name. I've seen him in other
Curtis
stuff.
Armstrong.
He's so good.
He got his start in Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah. That's right. And then I seen him in Risky Business. Mm-hmm. I'm really dating myself now, but
okay, I'm right there with you.
So yeah, he's excellent, and I like the idea of the angels falling to the earth and everything, and being vulnerable or whatever. So yeah, I thought it was starting to be a turnaround for me.
Okay.
I really liked Season 9 for the most part. I thought it started really strong with Gadriel possessing Sam and all of that, and Abaddon and all of that. And then we got that stupid episode about Oz and Charlie.
Oh my God.
And I was like, listen, this is like them trying to do some weird spin-off, and I don't like it. And it has nothing to do with Supernatural.
For me, it felt like a cop-out because everyone loved Charlie, so they were like, well, we have to bring her back, but we can't keep her here for a long time, so they just sent her off to Oz to...
I know.
I liked her when she was LARPing. I didn't necessarily like
that's
it
Charlie,
when she... Being total quintessential Felicia Day, not...
Yeah.
Yeah, that was totally out of the woodworks.
Yeah, it was very, like, I got to that episode and I was like, really? This?
Maybe they had enough fans complain that they killed her character off. They wanted her back, so they
No, that was
brought her back.
beforehand.
Was that
Yeah.
before?
Yeah, it was
that
before.
Oh,
Yeah, she
They
goes
kill her
to
in
Oz.
10?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she goes
Oh,
to
that
Oz
was
and
in
comes
10
back
they
in
killed her?
10.
I thought that was in 9.
Yeah.
No,
I
she
forgot
goes to
who
Oz.
killed her, but
See, this is...
it had to do with decoding the demon book.
Yeah.
The Book of the
Oh,
Dead.
the Book of the Dead. That's right.
She was
that's
trying
right.
to help with that. I
But
believe.
like the funny episode I did like that was actually funny was the fat sucking spa one.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What's her name?
It's Donna.
Is it Donna?
Yeah.
Is that her
Donna.
name? Oh my god, I love that
I
character.
love Donna.
She's hilarious. She's
Yeah.
so like she has no idea what's going on.
She's like the Margie Gunderson of the world.
A little bit.
That
She's
episode
from
was
Minnesota
pretty funny.
too, so you know.
I do love that part as well. I mean, I did like the way it ended also.
Yes. Do
With
you
Dean
believe in
going
miracles?
dark and Sam and Cass being like, what do we do? And I liked the episodes when they met Kane. So I thought it started strong and ended strong, but like some of those middle episodes were a little weird, especially Oz. That was stupid. And
I think it was interesting to see like the progression because he made the choice to get the mark so rashly and to see him sort of the regret set in like as it sort of just continued on. I thought that was interesting.
Well, and I think honestly it's in season 9 or maybe a little part of season 8 going forward where the brothers really start to grapple with all of the choices that they're making where they're totally foregoing the greater good and just concentrating on how do I save my brother.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the mark of Cain is really the first time we see that with Dean. Like, what the hell did I get myself into?
Mm-hmm.
It did make for a really... The actor who plays Cain is who?
Timothy Amundsen.
Okay.
He was
I
on
thought
Psych.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
He is a cast member from Psych.
Okay.
He's great on that show.
Okay. I
Very
just,
different part.
Extremely different, but it's okay.
he had, I mean, if I were to kind of think about what Cain might look like in this universe, he kind of embodies what I think he would look like.
Yeah.
I agree.
And he added a real tension, but I'll get to my opinion in a minute. Do you have something to say about 9, Nick?
Everyone kind of hit on the things that stood out for me.
Okay.
Because Kane, I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy Oz that much, and I love the Oz books. So I was
Yeah.
like excited that but it just didn't fit. It's just Supernatural is really good at their recurring characters. Like, is it Donna?
yeah.
That she comes back again after season 9, and they're good at casting those as well. So we see that in season 9 a little bit too. I didn't love. Isn't it season 9? Sam is embodied by an angel.
Yeah.
Gadriel.
That was
I
in the
didn't-
beginning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So season 9
Played
started
by
out
Tom
slow for me.
O'Pennicott from Dollhouse.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's.
I liked that. I mean, I thought it was stupid that Dean let him do that and
had to
like
trick them into.
yeah, that sucked. But I thought that it was interesting.
I think it seemed like it wasn't his character, but it was at the same time because they're always so desperate to save each other, and to see him specifically go to that length and be like, okay, I'll let an angel possess him when they've seen what they can do and what demons can do. Like I don't know how to explain it.
They knew that angels
yeah,
aren't always capable.
exactly.
Of,
They're not very like heavenly almost. So
Right.
But
yeah.
wasn't he also Sam also dying and?
that's
Healing is-
why.
yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that desperateness to save him, I think, was sort of in character, but I don't know. It was kind of weird for me, but I liked it.
So my feeling on 9, I agree that it started strong. I don't know that I agree that it ended strong, and I'll say why in a minute. I was very, very hopeful by the season finale of 8, watching the angels fall from heaven.
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was
that
cool.
was a phenomenal season ending. I thought, oh good, the show's on an uptick. And then in season 9, I felt that there were long stretches of repetitive things happening that were completely boring. It was either Gadriel emerges from Sam doesn't know what's happening, he loses time, almost like an alien abduction. He has to kind of piece it together. Dean's being cagey because, of course, he knows what's going on. Gadriel is going over to meet with Metatron. Metatron is blustering about humanity, blah, 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 and God, blah, blah, blah. And then when that wasn't happening, we had the whole Angel Civil War that was happening on the ground. There were a couple of funny episodes with Castiel trying to be human Castiel, but then even that got kind of old after a while.
Yeah.
So I kind of struggled through season 9, as I recall, and that's probably why I kind of left it, and we haven't revisited it until now, because I was starting to fear a little bit for the show. Not so much that I didn't think it was good, I just didn't think it was, it kind of was a letdown after the build-up of season 8 and where it was going. And I liked season 8. I liked the Gates of Hell and the trials. I felt it at least gave them a little bit more specific purpose than, say, the frickin' Leviathan or Soulless Sam, which was the rebuilding years after the 5 Kripke years. So I also agree that the Oz, I love the Charlie character. I love Felicia Day in general.
Yes.
But the Oz thing, first of all, that the Men of Letters would have it, doesn't make any sense. And then she comes out of nowhere to be like this destined fighter for Oz. That was just so, I mean, I guess it makes sense in the sense that she liked to live action role play and be the fantasy character, but it was also stupid. There was a lot of good jokes, like Dean was able to make a lot of good Dean cracks, but most of it was just like, what the hell is going on? I did like the reappearance of the Ghost Facers. Anytime the Ghost Facers come back.
They're the only characters that have not died on that show, and I don't know how they have survived for so long.
Well, they're just documenting ghosts. They're not dealing with
And
all
they're
the
not even
others.
documenting real ghosts.
They're
So,
fantastic.
I mean, every once in a while they stumble across a real one, and then Sam and Dean are there. But for the most part,
Yes.
was that the season that ended with Dean turning demon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he was
Like-
starting to go that way. Yes.
But when was the episode where like he woke up and his eyes
That
were
was
black?
That
Do
was the
You
first
Believe
time.
in
Okay.
Miracles?
Because that was cool.
Well, they showed the first bit of it in the
Oh,
finale.
that might have been
season.
Okay, see, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. That's why I think that moment was why it was a strong finale for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what?
So
and then I
that
cried.
so I didn't cover that piece. So why it wasn't a strong finale for me is because on the one hand, watching Dean go dark is a little bit different than watching, say, Sam go dark, because Sam has gone dark the most often, followed by Castiel. But what to me it was like, oh God, someone's going dark again. Come on, people, think of something else. There's like all
Well,
these
yeah, but I
possibilities.
mean, what do you expect to happen when he has the mark of Cain?
Well, I do, but then I also
And I think the fact that it was like not only dark, but like you were like actually a demon now.
Yeah,
like,
he was in
that
the
was
Night of Hell, wasn't
Yeah.
he?
But then that also raises questions that maybe sort of kind of are not answered until 2 seasons later. Like, how does the mark of Cain make you a demon? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you just
I was
be
wondering that too.
like Cain?
Right.
Well, and
Well, it wasn't.
didn't they even, when they explained the mark, God says that the mark on Lucifer, or just using the mark to lock up, I don't know.
They didn't
just
really-
made you more you, not more evil.
Yeah.
God says that in season 11 to Lucifer.
Right,
Yes.
but it's about the mark, right?
But it's about the mark, right? So his
So why did it make...
They never really explained the scientifics of it, and I think that would have been interesting.
scientific
Supernatural science.
Work with me.
The lore.
Yes, the
The
lore.
lore.
Good one.
There you go, perfect word. The lore behind the mark of Cain.
No, they didn't.
But then I don't think there's a lot of like biblical background on it. I don't really know, but so it would have been interesting to see them be like, "This is how this happens when you get this mark." I don't know.
This is us getting out of
That.
what biblically happened. I think they're somehow running out of actual myth and lore.
They really
I
are.
think they must be.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
It's way out.
They just do take a lot from the Bible, so that's why I was just like, I don't know. But
I mean, and I still, after that finale, came back and watched
No,
because I will watch Jensen Ackles until the day I can't watch Jensen Ackles anymore, and I trusted that it would get better. And we'll talk about this in a second about season 10. But to me, it wasn't as strong a finish as others. Like even season 6 and 7 had stronger finishes to me than season 9. Season 9 may have been better overall, I don't know. The other thing that I was kind of sort of feeling the wane about with season 9 was Abaddon. She came back.
I loved Abaddon, so that's my feeling on that.
All right. I mean, she had some great scenes with Crowley. I love when Mark Shepard chews the scenery with pretty much anybody that threatens him. But she was, I don't know, as demons go, not as compelling to me.
I feel like
I was annoyed by her.
I feel like she was the most brutal, which was interesting, and I think morbidly enough that's what made me like her more. Because demons...
Are you a Slytherin?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
Okay.
Yeah, I think demons before we saw them with humanity, which was intriguing, but we never really saw one that was more on the non-humanity side, almost, I suppose you could say.
Except the yellow-eyed demon.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Very true.
And much more compelling, I guess. I guess I just didn't,
I think that they created her and then it was kind of like the Leviathans. They created them and then they were like, we're bored. Let's be done with that. Like,
she didn't really have a purpose.
No,
she did not.
I guess that's what I didn't like about her.
Azazel, for
like,
instance,
her character and the actress were good, but like, I was like, why?
Well, and in contrast, that was the season where Crowley was kind of sort of human because of the spell they did for the Gates of Hell.
Right.
And that was fun, but her, it seemed tedious. That seemed a little tedious. The Angel Civil War seemed a little tedious. I liked when they were being humans, when they were fighting each other. It was like, okay. There's just wars everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
So, and I don't mean to diss season 9 because there were some really good moments too. Although Kevin the Prophet died in season 9.
That was
that was season 9?
That was season 9.
I can't keep all these seasons straight.
Gadriel killed him.
Yeah.
Which I think
That's right.
Jared, I will say, did a really good job of switching back and forth between Sam and Gadriel from an acting standpoint, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good.
They did, yeah. We'll talk about this too as the seasons progress, but him channeling, or the two actors channeling each other was really good.
Yeah.
I was more upset that Lauren Tom, Kevin's mom, died.
The tiger mom. I know, she was fun.
You gotta love her.
Everybody dies, but sometimes they come back.
Even when they die, they come back and they're still dead.
Like Bobby.
Like Bobby. That's true. Anything else you want to say or reflect upon in season 9?
Can't remember what happens in what season. So Rowena, when does she pop up?
10.
Okay.
So let's translate.
There we go.
Segue.
Well, here, this is kind of what I thought, and it's hard to piece behind. I think they took from the Abaddon character what they liked, and basically were like, let's give it more substance with Crowley's mom.
And make her a ginger again.
All the gingers.
Yep.
Which she actually, Rowena, I read that she was the longest running female, aside from Ruby. She beat Ruby.
I could see that. They bring in a lot of strong female characters that die real quick.
Which is so frustrating.
Well, I've also read a lot of articles about how the female fandom in this particular fandom, which is quite large, gets a little threatened by the female characters that encroach upon the boys.
Which is dumb. Sorry. Are you in the supernatural realm? Then shut up.
In class in real life.
There be strong female characters kicking ass on TV.
I know. It can't just be all the boys. They have to have some conflict.
And honestly, I love Rowena. I think she's great. I hate Crowley. P.S.
Okay, let's translate. Let's segue.
I thought we did.
No, we didn't.
Oh,
You
just
skipping
said
ahead.
we were going to, and then
But we
Nick
didn't.
talked
We
me
were going to, but we didn't.
when you say you're going to, that means you did.
Well, to set up the listener, Kelsey.
They're ready. They got it.
Let's talk about season 10, which I'm going to dub the Get the Mark of Cain off Dean season, because that's really what the purpose of the entire season was. So, what did you like? What didn't you like? And how does it compare to, again, the previous seasons, now 9 included? Kelsey?
I like Rowena and I hate Crowley.
Okay.
But I've always hated Crowley.
You really have always hated him?
Yeah.
Why?
Not even?
He annoys me. Actually, Mark Shepard just kind of annoys me. Which is sad because he's in every show I love. But he particularly annoys me in this show.
I will
Why?
agree to some extent.
Because Crowley is not evil and badass enough to be running hell. He is not. I don't understand. And I know that, like, later on, but, like, he's been running it for a long time. And how come nobody else
who ran it before him?
Lucifer.
Relatively
not as long as Lucifer.
Lucifer.
But so there was just no one in chaos.
Right.
Because
And
it's
then he took it
hell,
over.
I feel like Crowley's just a good businessman.
Yeah.
And that's why he probably, like, slithered his way up there to the top.
But that's why I enjoy him, because it doesn't always have to be a cookie cutter good evil. I mean, if you look at the angel in the show, Castiel, and you look at the demon in the show, Crowley, they're basically standing on either side of a very fine line. Because Castiel's made some pretty querulous choices for an angel.
Try to be
But it's
God.
way more interesting when Castiel does that.
I think he's biased.
No, I'm really not. 100% not. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
I just think, for some reason, to me, it's more interesting when a good character makes a bad choice than when a bad character makes a good choice.
Maybe, but he's also the comic relief of the show a lot of times.
Who,
It's true.
Crowley?
Crowley is-
Yes.
Crowley.
Well, they all do it.
Yeah,
They all do it. Crowley and
He-
But that's what.
Usually
Why is he the comic relief? If we're supposed to be taking hell seriously as a threat, like, hell is not a threat anymore now. It's just heaven, and it's weird.
Well, we don't
It
know what's
should
going
be
to happen in 12.
You can still have
I'm
a sense
talking
of
about
humor.
time.
If you're evil, you can still have a sense of humor if you're evil. Just because you're king of hell doesn't mean you have to be all serious and shit.
But
Haven't you seen Disney's Hercules?
absolutely,
This is
you
really
can have a sense of
passionate.
humor, but you don't need to be the butt of everybody's jokes.
That's true.
And that's what
I
bothers
agree
me.
with what she's saying.
It's like nobody takes him seriously, but for some
Right.
reason he still gets to run hell, and I don't understand.
I
Yes, I
find
don't
that
agree with that. No, you don't think the demons take him seriously up until...
Lucifer comes.
Yeah.
But why do they take him seriously?
We're not saying the
I
demons
think
are
they took
smart.
him
We're saying he
serious.
is.
in the beginning, and I think as the show progressed, that he started going soft, because that's one of the things that annoyed me, because I liked Crowley all the way up into getting into the end of season 10 and into definitely season 11, where he just got annoying. I actually like to see him as the lapdog. Was that season 10 or was that season 11?
That's 11.
That's 11.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I like
was
that.
funny.
But then
Rowena Raven.
I loved her when she was introduced, but then again in season 11 she got to be annoying. Thank goodness she kind of didn't show her as much because she was
So now
annoying.
I'm going to
So I was
disagree.
flipping out.
I
have
have never liked Rowena.
Never?
Ever. I
did.
find her annoying. Now, it's
I
not...
think you're supposed to, though.
You're not supposed to...
I think it's that with Crowley too, though. Like, the demons are just supposed to be annoying.
Rowena...
I think you're supposed to find her annoying because Crowley finds her annoying, and we're seeing
That's
her
not
a
why
lot
I
of
find
times
her annoying.
through his eyes, though.
That's not why I find her annoying. Yes, I understand that. I find her annoying because I do not like her line delivery. I don't like what the actress is doing with it. I see the potential of the character and what they're trying to do with the character and how she's supposed to relate to Crowley. I find her chemistry with Mark Sheppard very lacking, and she gets annoying very quick, and it stays. Now this is a little bit forecasting to season 11, but there's a point at which her neck gets snapped, and I thought, yes! And then she came back to life, and I was like, God damn it!
I was like, what? Come on.
Now, it's cool
Say
that
that.
there's like this super good witch out there, I guess.
Good at being a witch?
Good at being a witch.
Not
Yeah,
just-
not one they hunt with hex bags and stuff like that. But her motivation is ultimately very self-serving. It's really just showing the genetics between her and Crowley. Crowley's very self-serving. I don't know, I don't like him the best of the four main characters. He would be my least favorite, but I still enjoy him a little bit more than her, because it's just like, okay, Fergus. This is all I hear.
I think you just don't like her accent, and I find that accentist.
I love Scottish accents. I don't like hers. I like the ones in Brave.
I think that's also supposed to be why he doesn't go by his first name, because it's really annoying when his mom says it, and it sounds awful.
Yes,
and
I
plus it's Fergus.
that.
Like, who names their child?
Yeah, but it's even more.
They're Scottish.
That's true, I guess.
And that was a long time ago.
And yeah,
true.
they're from like the Middle Ages or something.
I overall felt like season 10 was kind of weird and disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think there were a lot of filler episodes. A lot of people were talking about that.
Yeah.
How there was a storyline, but at the end of the day, they were really just putting out content that they could entertain
well,
with.
and I enjoy like the one-off episodes where they just go hunt something, because I like having like, oh, new lore or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun for me. I liked that a lot about the first few seasons. It's a little obnoxious that literally every time they do it, they do, I don't know if this is our kind of job. Yes, it is. No, I don't know if it is. And then they go do it. Like Nick was saying, it's become very
valid.
Yes.
format heavy.
Especially in 10.
They've also have run out. It's very rare that like they find something new, which I think makes sense, but is boring from the viewer's perspective.
Yeah.
And they've definitely, I think part of their formula is it ends with a problem. How are we going to deal with it? We don't know, but let's kill some time until we're closer to the end of the season. And that's the only reason
That's how season 3 was, I feel like.
Yeah, season 3 is my least favorite of the first of the 5 crypty years, which everybody acknowledges is the best. Because that season was all about how to save Dean from the Hellhounds.
Yeah.
That was the
Oh,
entire...
that's right. Yeah, I didn't like that season very
And
much.
10 follows pretty much the same format as season 3. It's just got more event episodes.
Yeah, I mean, essentially in season 3, they'd go on like a random hunt, like you had said, and then in the middle of it somewhere, they'd be like, man, you're going to hell soon. Like, this is not good. And then Dean would be like, I know, and he like wouldn't admit that he was scared and all that. So, but yeah, they definitely do kind of push off problems until the end, and then they resolve it. But then a new problem comes up to be resolved throughout the next season.
So this is what I will say about season 10. I liked it better than season 6, 7, 8, 9 because of certain episodes. I thought that it was very slow to start. I was actually thrilled that they separated Dean and Crowley after Dean and Crowley the Bunny.
Yeah, that was annoying. But like I said, I don't like Crowley, so
Right.
it was more annoying for me. But
I understand.
It still sucked. I was like, stop.
Yes, and well, because, now this is not a happy point for Jensen, but Evil Dean was not totally different from Good Dean.
No.
So it was kind of a very fine distinction, and I don't know if that was a choice or just Jensen, but I just felt the first few episodes were really boring, and that 10 did not kick into gear until, we must mention it, fan fiction. The musical episode.
Oh man, Robbie Thompson, my man. He's so good for writing on this show. But yeah, a lot of people said that they sort of patched things up with Dean being a demon really quickly, but they had promoted it so much, like the demon or whatever. So yeah, I heard a lot about how it was just kind of, you know.
They patched it up quickly, but I think it's because it wasn't working.
No, yeah.
And it was kind of a mercy that they did it.
It was interesting though, because I mean, from what we've seen of Dean, like every time that something bad happens, he takes a lot of the toll of it, and he even says that at one point. So to have him be a demon and have all these bad choices be made, and still with the mark even, I think it was kind of engaging to see him feel those consequences afterwards.
Well, and what can definitely be said about Supernatural, I mean, having watched it for so many, I mean, I cannot think of a show I've watched longer. It's even Friends now, okay? And there's only two main characters that have been there the entire time, and that's Sam and Dean. I don't think there are two fictional characters in any anything that I know better than Sam and Dean. You feel like they're real people because you've spent so much time with them, and every little detail about them and their personalities and the way they relate to each other has had time to be fleshed out on the show. So to that end, I feel like whenever they're dealing with their, I like to now use the term BM, like in the musical episode, or brotherly moment, but that's the joke. Anytime they're dealing with that, I mean, yeah, you get to see those emotional consequences, and I think that's always engaging. But at the same time, I don't think that really hit home until season 11, and season 10 was just really drawn out for no apparent reason on this one major plot point, which was how to get the mark off Dean.
And didn't Charlie come back from Oz?
Charlie did come back from Oz. She emerged, and she was Jekyll and Hyde, sort of.
Yeah.
Two separate entities of the same, which once upon a time is going to do the same thing. So why are these shows borrowing from each other? What's going on?
Copyright.
Yes. So let's take these in turn, because I want to hit on some of these. The fan fiction is the 200th episode. That's why they did the musical. What did you think of it?
I liked it a lot. I thought it was interesting that they decided to do a musical but not make any cast member or regular sing, and it still worked really well. I think they justified the fact that they were singing well, which is hard to do when a show does a musical episode, without just saying, nah, we're just going to sing and ignore it. But I liked it a lot. It probably was my favorite episode of the season. I like how many characters they brought back without actually having to bring back. They kind of tied one into the next season that they hinted at. The writer, Charles?
Chuck.
Yeah. So we see him a little bit in that. They also referenced their brother that's stuck in hell or the cage.
Adam.
Oh my god.
The one who
thought they would deal
Michael.
with that as well, and
Yeah.
I
That
don't
poor man.
think they did. But yes, I liked the musical episode.
I don't remember.
Whoa.
I know. I'm sorry.
It's the 200th episode,
I know.
man.
I mean, I remember thinking it was funny. I just sometimes with the like really self-referential episodes, I get a little annoyed.
It's very meta.
Like all the meta episodes, they're entertaining, but I'm like, I can find this on Tumblr. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's more creative than Tumblr, I guess, because it's a full episode long. But like, I don't know. I don't really remember. I remember laughing.
Good.
But I wouldn't say it was my favorite episode.
Okay, fair enough.
I agree with Nick. It was one of my favorite. It was my favorite episode of that season. I really liked it. It a lot.
I liked how I thought it was hysterical how they referenced the fandom, if I may, with like,
With in quotes.
yes, with like Cass and Dean, and Sam was like trying to say the ship names. I thought that was kind of hilarious. So that was, I think that stuck with me the most. And it's sort of, and also the Samulet, the little necklace, when they brought that back in a way. Because when Dean threw that away, I want to say that was season 5.
Yeah, it was in one of the early seasons.
And that broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. So to have him kind of like hang that back up on the car mirror, I don't know. I like that a lot. So yeah.
I loved it as well. It was one of my favorite episodes of the season. I pretty much always will enjoy a musical episode. There's only a couple of times in the history of this that it's really not been good. That 70s show comes to mind. But this time it was good, and I think it's because they made everything a joke. And yes, it was self-referential. I actually love self-referential stuff. I like the meta for the fans, the ode to the fans, and some of the funniest things that Dean has ever said and that they've ever said to each other happened in this episode. Just with their reactions to what they were watching were priceless. But also, I loved the touching moment at the end, and I love the fact that they made Carry On Wayward Son this, like, a cappella harmonious finale song to
was
the
great.
musical. There was just so much going on in it that I thought it was a fitting event episode for the 200th, and is probably one I will rewatch just for the hell of it at times.
And they wrote a song called The Road So Far, which is how
They did.
every season ends with that wrap-up before the finale.
It's true. It's true. There
And
was
it
a
was
lot
like
of
a
good
little-
continuity in the musical, actually.
There was. I will give it that. I think my favorite of like the funny episodes ever is the one where they are stuck in the TV and they keep having to do like
The French
show,
mistake?
yeah, in style of the different shows.
That was
When they're trying to pronounce their own names.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
trickster.
Where they reference
Who I love.
Grey's Anatomy and the character that plays both Sam and Dean's dad and that character.
Yeah.
Remind me of
Jeffrey
TV
Dean
reference when we
Morgan.
get to season 11, and remind me of that when we get to
I
season
know which
11.
one you're gonna.
I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
So let's talk about Charlie coming back. So we hated the Ozark, but she did come back, and it was basically to set up her doom.
Which was awful.
I know.
I will never forgive the writers
I
for
was so
that.
mad. Oh, I was crying. I was
I
mad.
was too.
I was just. I'm such a big Felicia Day
Me too.
fan.
And I love Charlie. I hated Oz, but I love Charlie.
Exactly, me
That
too.
Was
Charlie is the epitome of the people who watch the show, I think. And so, and just to kill off another girl, like, come on, man. It's just gotten so...
And a girl that's really not a girl. She's just one of the guys.
Yeah.
Like, she's not interested in them. She's interested in other girls. So
I-
why would you kill her off?
I don't understand why they killed her off. I don't understand.
Yeah, I know.
The character-wise, why did that character have to leave?
And she died
I
so
don't get that.
stupidly. It was because
Yeah.
of those Stein guys, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
family.
Yeah, and it was
Yes.
so quick and so brutal, and it was like really...
I literally paused and said, "Wait a minute, what just happened?"
Why would she have survived all this other
Yeah.
crap, including going to Oz, beating a witch, and coming back, only to die this way?
She was representative, she was unique, and then she was dumped in a bathtub. And actually,
Wow.
it was, she literally was. And it was funny because someone asked them that at San Diego Comic-Con last year, and they all just kind of sat there and then like turned around and pretended not to hear the question. It was hilarious. If you look that up on YouTube, it was great. Because I think the actors probably disagreed with that decision a lot.
Well, and I
much
think
like many
it
fans.
goes back again to your point that you made during the Vampire Diaries panel about how, like, homosexual, like,
The bury your gays
characters
trope.
always get killed.
Yes.
And I was like,
Right.
seriously? We're gonna do that here too? Like, that
Not in
was very
season 11.
disappointing.
That's true.
I know.
That's true.
That
Not
is
season
true.
11. We'll get
Yes.
there in a second. Another really funny episode from season 10 was when Dean somehow woke up as a teenager, but Sam was still an adult. What did you think about that one?
I don't remember.
I
Reminds me of a Star Trek.
I know it happened. I'm like, I don't really remember that. I mean, I know it happened. I barely can remember.
Is it the
that.
Hansel and
So
Gretel
that's
one?
not bad.
It's the Hansel and Gretel one.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that must.
I liked the Taylor Swift thing. I thought that was funny because they talked about that at panels a lot. So they were like, yeah, it was pretty
Yes, Dean
comical.
found himself getting with the teen pop more and the classic rock
He
less.
was a millennial. It was
I
great.
didn't like that.
I didn't either, but he did grow back up again.
Yeah. Oh, I do remember that. Are we gonna skip over the Castiel episodes?
No,
Because I would like to talk about how much I hated them.
okay, go ahead. This is coming from the Castiel fan.
Yeah. I've struggled with Castiel ever since the whole random I'm gonna be God thing.
Yes.
And like, I still love Misha Collins off the show, but like, I've really struggled with the character of Castiel because I feel like he's lost a lot of footing. And I feel like they're not always sure what to do with him anymore. And then they tried to like create this like emotional thing with him being reminded that he was actually a terrible being and stole this person, Jimmy, and his life and the repercussions of that and how he feels responsible. And I was like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, but you should have done this earlier. Like,
Okay.
It just felt a little random and a little like, hey, what do we do with Cass? Hey, this would be interesting. And I was like, it is interesting. It would have been interesting a lot sooner.
I think it goes back to what Allie was saying about filler episodes. To
Yeah.
me, they just created a filler episode around
Yeah.
Castiel remembering he was once Jimmy, and then the girl they get to play
Claire.
Claire. which is his daughter, Jimmy's daughter, not Castiel's daughter, because he can't have one. Her teen angst is... I'm sure, somebody likes it.
It was alright.
I think it was funny to see her with Dean and her and how he was, like, trying to relate to her and stuff. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, even the dimensions with the two brothers there, it's really superficial. And it just comes down to, of course, she becomes obsessed with hunting after their first couple of meetings. And so now it's just become, this is how you hunt. What you're doing is wrong.
Right. And I think with Castiel specifically, and even Misha Collins has said this, and he's been like, I don't really want to get fired, but here's my opinion.
He would say that.
They don't stay true to his character a lot of the times.
No, and that's what frustrates
Exactly. He started off as a very, like, soldier-esque, like, I'm fighting for heaven, and that's the good fight. And then he rebelled against himself. And that was what made his character likable, because, I don't know, it kind of goes back to what you said about the good going bad, almost, and him finding a humanity in that. And then the whole God thing happened, and he's just had a lot of really weird storylines, and...
that are all over the place.
And exactly. I honestly, like, this is, of course, way backtracking, but since you brought it up, like, the moment that he decided, I'm gonna be God now, I was like, no, absolutely, like, this literally makes no sense for his character. And I remember just, like, crying and screaming, and my best friend was like, no, this is good, because maybe it'll make him, like, this really cool character. And then it didn't really, because it wrapped up really quickly.
It was very anticlimactic. The ending of Castiel's time as God, because we've had a few, was very anticlimactic.
And then, I guess, like, segueing kind of into people's time as God, like, even the episode with him breaking Metatron out, and I was just like, what? Why is this happening? Like, it just never...
To find his grace, which he never really find it? Like, he
stole someone else's.
He steals someone else's, which is unlike him as well.
Yeah. So what's the point of all of that? He broke Metatron out of jail. I mean, it has
now he gets to be Heaven's Most Wanted.
Right, just for breaking Metatron out of jail.
Which he was already that initially, so that was kind of when he was rebelling in seasons 4 and 5. Angels started to really dislike him, so that felt a bit repetitive in the sense.
It did. But, I agree. I was just gonna say, like, wasn't he already?
Nobody really liked him. Like,
especially after the whole "I'm gonna be God" thing. Just never mind. Just kidding. Like that. I don't know.
Castiel. I agree with all of what you're saying about him. And I love him. I love Misha. I love Misha as Castiel. But at the same time, it's like all the other characters, including Crowley, you may not like him, but he at least has a defined purpose.
Yeah,
you never question the purpose. Castiel's like, what the hell is your purpose? Is your purpose to be an angel? Is your purpose to save heaven? Is your purpose just to now be Dean's sidekick? Like, what is your purpose?
Right.
They have not given him one. And even still in 11, which we'll segue to a minute, that was not,
Castiel was really in season 11.
No, he wasn't. His one purpose was a bad choice he made. Again,
a lot of people complained about that because he's so well liked. Like, he has a massive fan base, even in comparison to the Winchesters. So I think it was sort of a poor choice on the writer's part to just sort of swipe his character to the side.
What I don't like, and this is the role-playing nerd in me, is that it feels like they have shifted his alignment multiple times. Yes, like, he started out very lawful good, and, like, I will do good to a fault. Which is how we see, I guess, most of the angels, so maybe they were trying to, change that a little bit. But I thought that was when he was the most compelling, and also it was the funniest when he was trying to do human things and was very unhuman.
Like, the phone is almost out of minutes.
Yeah, that was funny. Multiple funny things. Like, those were my favorite cast moments. And then that also made, like, the episode where, like, it went into that, like, post-apocalyptic future, and we saw him, like, superhuman.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
He was like a stoner.
Because with, like, an orgy.
That was so weird.
That was hilarious because it was so unlike him. Now, if that were to happen, we'd be like, well, yeah, I guess. I don't know. Maybe he changed his mind again. Maybe he's into that now. I don't, like, it's... I'm sad because he is my favorite. From like the moment when he was possessing what's her name, like when he was first introduced, and then the moment with his like wings and the silhouette and all of that immediately grabbed me. And then I just feel like he's kind of gone.
That was a downhill slope with her hand. Since they can't see you.
I was getting there. Okay. You cut off my explosion.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It's okay. Anyways, yeah, it was just bad.
Okay.
And I'm sad about it.
But I do think, because God and even himself said that he's brought Castiel back so many times, I think it's interesting to me because it shows that there really is some sort of purpose for him, much like Sam and Dean. Yeah, like there's an end game here with them.
Well, and it's, again, season 11, but we kind of leave Cass with he is one of the brothers, is the moment they had. So that's, I think I never liked their reasons for Cass not being with the two of them. So hopefully maybe...
Yeah, like when he was just always somewhere else. And
him. Even when he was like, but you can snap yourself there. Even in those, sometimes he didn't have.
I think it's because they don't have enough money to pay him to be like in all the episodes.
A regular,
That could be.
I don't know.
But they treat him and Crowley as if they are cast members.
They do. Well, and whenever you're right, whenever they are in the episode, they're in the regular cast list as opposed to the guest stars.
And
when I say that, I mean they haven't killed them off yet.
That also is true.
Because Bobby for a while was like a
before we segue, I have like a serious question.
Sure.
About Supernatural?
Yeah.
And I have 2 points to make.
I think it was this season. When do they kill Death?
This season. It's the end of the season.
Yeah. It's what unlocks the darkness.
Who the hell is Death? Because they kill him and people are still dying. I don't understand.
They make it off
were you just like a Reaper, like a really badass, like the original Reaper, or like?
I always thought he was one of the 4 horsemen.
He was one of the 4 horsemen, and we get pretty quickly after Death dies in season 11. Billy the Reaper says, since people are still dying, they weren't sure if people would die or not, and they kind of address it. It's very obvious.
It would have been more interesting
if people couldn't die.
People couldn't die, and they had to fix that problem.
I think Death was...
So I guess he just decided who died?
Maybe.
Sometimes?
And now people just all die? I don't know.
Maybe God is like the healing and just all that.
I just thought that was such a cool choice to have them just like go nuts and kill Death, and then I was like, oh, but
the logic was
nothing exciting really happened from that. So why did we do that?
So this is actually a good segue to my couple of points, which will also segue into season 11 because I feel like that's happening. So the first thing is, other than the musical episode, my 2 most favorite moments from season 10 were first the conflict with Cain, kind of the trap they set for him, and then ultimately his death, which he considered a relief, so I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then the season finale of 10 was so good.
You think?
I do think. Actually, Nick. If Kristen were here, she would say Nicholas. Because of the fact that they killed Death, number 1, I expected it but didn't it, and the way they did it. It gets the mark off Dean, finally, which you think is never going to happen, and yet, of course, it does. And then, all of a sudden, the world is awash with this black smoke stuff that's way more threatening looking than the black smoke from Lost. And you're like, holy crap, what just happened?
It's like worse than the apocalypse in
season 5. A little bit. Like, what?
It was super scary. That's true. There was definitely a lot of intrigue in the final episode.
Yes.
It's a bummer that they killed off Death. I mean, I think it was a really interesting choice, but I just liked his character a lot personally.
I did too.
Like how he just didn't really care. Even I think he called Lucifer a petulant child at one point, and that's just like hilarious to me because it just shows his like power almost. So that was kind of a bummer in that perspective.
Theoretically, there's also 3 more horsemen out there.
I thought they killed them.
Did they kill
They
all
cut
of
off their rings.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
To open
I'm confusing.
There's so much.
Sleepy Hollow does the same thing.
I don't mind that they kill off Death, even though I loved the character, because I don't think they did. Anytime it was in an episode, it really wasn't much. You just got a little bit, and I think
agree.
if we got more, we might not have liked it anyway. So I like Death and Supernatural, and they didn't ruin it. My problem with the cliffhanger, that it wasn't one of my favorites, was it was so... I like the mystery aspect when it's, what are they going to do about something specific, other than what are they going to do about whatever this is. Like, that made me not care as much, where I was even more excited about the Leviathan, even though I didn't like that season. So that's why it didn't end quite as big or good as other seasons.
I think it might have been cooler if they were like, hey, you killed Death, and now people can't die, and there's, like, people walking around with, like, throats slit and stuff. Like, what are you gonna do about it? That might have been interesting.
Well, and there's nothing to say, first of all, that they might not come to that, because we don't know where this next... We have no idea where season 12 is going to go. Mm-hmm. I think we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I do feel, I guess I didn't think about it that hard when it happened. For me, it reminded me there was more of a shock factor involved. Like, this is what happens when you remove the mark of Cain from someone. And it gave me the chills, kind of like those earlier episodes when Azazel was torching people. And it was like, oh my God, what just happened? And we weren't supposed to know. They didn't even know what the hell it was, so why would we have known what it was or what to do with it? Now we can segue, if you'd like, unless anybody wants to talk about the death of Cain. You feel bad about that?
I like that actor, so I
hated to see him go, but I felt good because he was happy about it.
Right, like, I think it was written in a way that I don't mind that it happened.
He was alive a very long time and got a bad rap because he bore the mark.
And you definitely sympathized with him, which I think was interesting, because, I mean, even though he was, he began murder. Exactly. Like, even though he was theoretically bad, he also kind of had a lot of humanity to him, which I liked.
He did. The missed opportunity, I feel like, there, if they really wanted to go on full biblical, is I kind of wish we'd have met Abel at some point.
Which, actually,
yeah.
Didn't they say that Sam and Dean are descendants of Cain and Abel? Wasn't that a thing?
About Sam and Dean?
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
I think that was...
They set up the parallel of he killed his brother, and now you have the mark, so you're going to have to kill your brother.
Well, what
which they did in season 5 with Michael and Lucifer.
Yeah.
Right, but as vessels. I think what you ultimately get is that they're touched by God. And hey, segue! So, let's talk about season 11, which I'm going to either call the greatest hit season, because literally everything you've ever seen in the show kind of came back at some point at one or another, or you can think of it as God versus the darkness. So the big black smoke out of the season 10 finale turns out to be the byproduct of the darkness, which is what the mark of Cain was actually holding entrapped anytime anyone bore it. And the darkness is what infects the people who bear the mark of Cain. Well, she turns out to be a she, and she has a name, which is Amara, and they depict her as God's sister. Now, I have thoughts, but let's talk about this, because it's the whole season, practically. We'll get to the reveal about God in a minute, but what did you think about the darkness?
I hated them calling her God's sister. I think that seemed real cheesy and dumb.
I agree.
Is it the only thing in a while that they haven't... There's no... In the history of humanity, there's nowhere to pull for that, I don't think. Whereas at least the Leviathan, that's something from the Bible. Or genies, that's something from different books. So,
I mean, if you think biblically, and I'm not a very religious scholar, but they do, like, one of the first lines in the Bible isn't, like, in the beginning there was only darkness.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
So if they just called it the darkness, I would have liked it better.
I agree.
That's
so sort of
instead of...
Right.
Well, yeah.
Like he was...
I guess.
The darkness and the light, that's what existed. God and the darkness.
Well, God created light.
God bore the light.
He said, let
He is
there
the bringer of
be
light.
light.
So if it would have been like like with having like a civil war between, or not even really civil.
Well, and it is, in a way. I mean, it's, I guess, sibling rivalry, which kind of cheapens it, honestly.
Not
so I get what you're
so
saying.
Well, especially when you have the character say there were no parents. She says that. That's what makes siblings. So I don't know why sister. I don't like...
So here's my take on this, because you and I talked about this a little bit, and when we talked about it, I hadn't finished watching the season, and now that I have finished watching the season, the way I look at it is you cannot read into the sister thing too much. I think what they were trying to do is draw a parallel, because that's the theme of the show. It's two brothers. There's always brothers or siblings all throughout the Bible. They're kind of the progenitors of all the things that happen. So they were trying to put a construct on it.
That's a good point.
Yes, but I actually, I buy that you feel that it was forced.
It was like a common law sibling thing. Like, we've existed together for so long, we're going to call each other brother and sister.
I get that. I don't know. But the way that I see it, I guess, is that, and they kind of make the point, the darkness and him trapping the darkness, it's almost like there's the implication that everything in nature, including God, has a duality. And the darkness is really the other half of his duality, I think.
Right.
He emerges from that duality by suppressing and entrapping the darkness. That doesn't go well, and so the lesson from the season at the end, okay, so now let's quickly hit on the big reveal. So if you didn't already know, big spoiler, Chuck the prophet, Chuck the author of the supernatural books within the supernatural universe, it turns out he was God the whole time.
Which everybody predicted.
Yeah.
Right? Because that last episode that he was in was that...
Because he just sort of
season 5 where he was like... And just like fizzled away. Yeah. So I think everybody kind of predicted that anyway.
Swan song.
Well, I forgot that, so I was still
because
like...
the last time you see him before this is the musical episode.
Yes,
that's true. That's true.
Anyway, at the very end of the season finale, when they kind of hold hands and agree to go have a, quote, family meeting, they turn into smoke, and he's light smoke and she's dark smoke, and the smoke intertwines, and it kind of becomes one, and that's what sold it to me in the end. Now, calling it sister, yeah, a little cheesy. Watching her go through kind of this... There's actually another something like this where it starts out as a baby and grows real fast. The Antichrist kind of a thing.
Oh, there was an episode where Dean had a baby, and that happened. She was like a tiny, weird witch baby, and she grew really fast.
Yeah,
which
so
was
they've already
so
done
weird.
that one.
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
I do.
It was
now that you say that,
the most bizarre episode, probably one of my least favorites, because they never touched back on it, but that's a whole other thing.
I just remembered.
So essentially they do it again. You know, the darkness is reborn, apparently, as a child, and then grows really fast. Crowley tries to exploit her, becomes her uncle for a while, and I mean that made it feel more cheesy because it was taking down like a traditional horror movie kind of trajectory. If they'd have just kept her as the mysterious woman and not have her gone through baby to woman, I probably would have even been sold on the sister thing a little bit more. I felt that's what cheapened it, even though the little girls were pretty creepy.
But it was strange, too, because Dean had this, like, compelling connection with her, and then she's, like, a little girl, and you're just like...
So how do we feel about that? Was that satisfactorily explained to you?
I think it makes sense because he had the mark of Cain, and she has, like, a tie with the mark of Cain, and because he fell under the mark of Cain so deeply...
But so did Lucifer.
Yeah, so
why
theoretically...
Did she be like...
Because Lucifer helped lock her up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right. There was revenge there. Good call.
Observant.
But then she goes
watched a lot of these today and yesterday.
But then she also goes toward a semi-romantic, although she wants to consume him kind of place.
Which was weird.
Which, no, but it makes sense because I feel like that's how he felt about the mark of Cain as well, a little bit. Like, there was that, like... almost like lust feeling when he had the mark, and I feel like that kind of ties into...
Lust is one of the 7 deadly sins.
Okay.
Very true.
I mean,
Have they done an episode with that?
They
Seven
did.
Deadly Sins.
And
Feels
it's
familiar.
the premiere of season 3.
yeah.
There
They
you
did.
go.
It's a really good
That
episode,
episode
actually.
freaked me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense to me.
I liked this season, and I liked the story, and I liked that character. It just... I was waiting for it to not be good because of how it was presented.
I see.
If they just called it The Darkness longer, I think I would have been less hesitant. But I think the season as a whole, they did a really good job of weaving in the one-offs and progressing that arc instead of... A lot of the seasons just feel like something happens at the beginning, there's a lot of time until the end. There was definitely a lot of things moving forward. There's a couple of one-offs where you still have The Darkness and Crowley or Lucifer and Crowley. There was a lot. I think it was just better writing throughout this season.
I have to say, and I said I was going to say it, and I'm going to say it, darn it. Season 11 is the best season since the first 5. It's almost like they got a second wind, and they threw everything they had at this season. Maybe they were thinking there was going to be an end. I don't know.
Maybe. I think that it's just been that, like, eternal question of, like, where the hell is God? And finally we got the answer. So maybe that's why, like, part of it was...
And
Well,
I don't
the
know. But
episode-
yeah, the writing was a lot better. The baby episode was my
Brilliant.
favorite
It was
because it
brilliant.
was so different from anything we've done.
So just to set up the listener, it's basically telling the story from the point of view of the car. The car's not alive. You just get the camera shots, the dialogue.
Which they
from
literally...
the car.
It seemed to help.
They literally drove around. Like, I read about it, they just drove around with it there. Obviously, they had lines to say, but I thought that was really interesting. And when they were doing promotion for season 11, they really stuck true to saying this is reminiscent of, like, season 1 and 2, where Sam and Dean are brothers, and they're not constantly lying and being secretive. And I think that's what the fans needed after season 10.
The conversation in that episode where Sam's sitting in the back seat, Dean's sitting in the front seat, and Sam is trying to tell him about the visions he was having, which he thinks are from God, and of course they're not. They're from Lucifer. We'll get to him in a second. And of course Lucifer has a special tie to Sam because Sam is his maid. He is the vessel destined for that archangel. Just happens to be that archangel's evil. That conversation, we've not seen like that truly honest and talking about childhood and you weren't so great with dad or whatever. I mean, there's
A chick flick moment.
Yeah, a chick flick moment. But really, I mean, they always have conversations, but that was probably one of the most bare-all conversations they've had in a very long time. And it was great. It was awesome. I also enjoyed, to go back to the reveal of God, Don't Call Me Shirley, the actual episode in which Chuck was revealed, because the dialogue writing between Chuck/God and Metatron was amazing. It was amazing.
And Curtis Armstrong.
Hit it out of the park.
Yes, amazing.
And there's this scene, actually, I don't remember which episode it is, but Dean is talking to God, and he's saying, you weren't there, kind of thing. And
That's
was
the next episode.
Yeah, that was originally written where Dean is angry, and Jensen said he decided to play it as more of, like, a tearful, sad, like all this bad stuff has happened to me, and you didn't do anything about it. And I thought that was really well written.
That was really well. I felt this one was a little bit more well written just because Metatron was making the case that then was hit home by Sam and Dean. And it was a great bookend because in the next episode, Sam, of course, is now like, yes, finally, God is here. All of my faith has been restored. And Dean literally, that was a brilliant choice. Because Dean has always been kind of on the fence of believing whether or not there really is a God to actually give a care about. He kept saying God is a dick the whole time. So to actually have him break down in that moment and be like, yeah, you're here, but everything everyone's ever been saying about you is true. You're an absentee dad. You weren't around. All this stuff is happening to our family, me in particular, my dad, my mom, all the things. But then we also find out that the Winchesters are kind of touched by God. That's why all of these destinies swirl around them. They're kind of, he uses the word as firewall. between the planes, the different planes.
God's reasoning is that from stepping away, is that he thinks he was making things worse.
Right.
Which is like the eternal conflict with the brothers.
They definitely
keep, every time they try to fix a problem, it gets worse. There's an interesting parallel there.
Yes.
And it's then kind of weird that then God is helping them in ways to do what he decided he wouldn't do.
But I think what I take that as is they made the case and they won it. I think because everybody's telling him the same thing. It starts with Metatron, then it goes to the brothers. He kind of even gets it a little bit from Castiel and even from Lucifer. Okay, the intervention episode or whatever the hell that was where the brothers sit. First of all, I'm so very happy that Mark Pellegrino came back. He's brilliant. But what can be said good for Misha is Misha as Lucifer inside Castiel. Brilliant.
Oh yes, that's when I started actually really liking Castiel.
But he wasn't Castiel.
But it wasn't Castiel. I know, right?
So I still am sad about Castiel's character pathway and
agreeing to take Lucifer
for
in.
me,
it's a little weird. I mean, it was great.
Well, it was quick and they didn't dwell on it.
Misha is a wonderful actor, and that's part of why I love him, and it's part of why I love Cass. But I still was like, but why do you do that? Why would Castiel do that? Okay, it's cool to watch.
for me, I think, in a way, even though I really think that Misha did a fantastic job, he said he went back, he studied the mannerisms of Mark, and he was one of the best actors, personally, I think they've ever had on the show.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of TV shows.
He's spectacular, and Misha did a great job of making it his own, but also reflecting Mark. But I think, in a way, it defeated the purpose of the whole season 5, because they wanted to lock him in the cage, and now he came back out with
But I think
saying
they
that.
explained
No,
that.
yeah, it was definitely necessary, but I thought that was interesting how they sort of went back. I don't know, but
It was kind of like the whole drama of seasons 1 through 5 that Kripke wrote was like no longer relevant.
Yeah, that's
Well,
kind of
and
the
they
thing.
could have gone more into... One of the reasons Lucifer is out is because he was able to snake into Sam's mind.
Sure.
Because the darkness kind of made cracks
Yeah.
in the cage.
There was
So-
definitely a
They
purpose to
explained
it.
that.
There
They had explanations for everything that you're questioning, right?
No, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
It makes me sad because then it kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like that moment when you realize, like, oh, ghosts and demons aren't really a big thing anymore. Like,
So yeah, I don't think it was a bad thing. I just think it was interesting how they had all of that and then this happened. But that's kind of how Sam and Ian's lives are. They work hard for something and then it sort of all falls apart.
yeah,
Sadly.
Just saying. I don't think it negates anything in 1 through 5 because they explain all the stuff.
Yeah.
They explain why Lucifer was able to get out. I mean, why wouldn't Lucifer try? One of my major questions is, where the hell is Michael? Didn't he fall into the cage too? They explained what was wrong with Michael. I wondered, okay, well, if God's back, why can't they make more archangels to fight the darkness if it took Michael, Gabriel, and whomever else, and Lucifer, to put the darkness in with the mark of Cain? God explains. The archangels take a lot to make them. Like, they were the very first. They were my first creations, and it's like the primordial goo that everything else came out of. So everything, all the answers came. Now, whether you bought it or not, I don't know. For me, none of it bothered me other than maybe sort of kind of the way they explained Castiel. Not that he made the choice, but what Castiel says when he gets a moment of lucidness is, well, I just wanted to help the fight.
Yeah, he's
That's
definitely.
literally
I
the
guess,
line.
I guess that's
He is
mostly
very
what bothered me about it.
self-sacrificing, so it was in character. But like I said, I just thought it was intriguing how they reflect. It was like an interesting parallel.
So let's hit on some of the funny episodes, because we can't talk Supernatural season without the funny. We had the Imaginary Friends episode, which was actually kind of sad, but also funny. where Sully, Sam's imaginary friend. We had the wrestling episode where Dean went full fanboy.
It's too good.
Yes. And then it wasn't funny, but I do want to mention the Soul Sucker episode. It was funny in the sense that they brought back Bobby and Rufus. Mm-hmm. Rufus played by Stephen Williams, X from the X-Files. And they always have a very grumpy rapport. But I also wanted to say, hey, they set that in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and that's where Couch Potatoes Unite is based. What did you think?
Question.
Sure.
The Imaginary Friends episode,
yes.
Did it happen, or was it all in Sam's mind at the end?
I perceived it as it actually happening because there was way too many Dean cracks about all the dead imaginary friends.
Because there's something at the end where it seems like that's just, he imagined it all happening.
I don't remember that.
I didn't.
But I believe you because
way.
you recently watched all of them.
So did I, though. I saw that one last week.
Yeah, but it ends right in the car, and I feel like Dean repeats a question he had asked him at the beginning, and I feel like he's lost in his imagination trying to make a decision. And
I think it really happened. It's one of the things that Sully says at some point during the episode is that you can only see them if they choose to let you see them, and maybe because Sully wasn't Dean's imaginary friend, I didn't perceive it that way, but I'm trying to explain maybe your perception. Maybe there was a sense that Dean was starting to forget because he really wasn't meant to see Sully. They only brought him in to help save the imaginary friends. Sully is Sam's imaginary friend. But I also think that Dean was accepting at one point as they're saying goodbye to Sully. He actually says, thanks, Sully, for taking care of my brother while my dad and I were away. So I also feel like it all happened and they remember.
Personally, I liked when Sam punches Sully in the face and they have their first encounter, and then Dean walks in and sees him and he's just like, I'm gonna go grab my gun. That was the best for me. But yeah.
I enjoyed his reaction to Sparkles. And the fact that Sparkle bled glitter. That was hilarious to me.
I agree.
That was probably, the funny ones were kind of all had a pall over them this season because of the darkness, I think. Mm-hmm. The darkness was mentioned at least once an episode, so I think that's another reason why the continuity might have been better for you too, because they always addressed it. Mm-hmm. As opposed to,
and I feel like they did more than just mention it. I feel like something happened with it.
It's true. But how about Dean's fanboying over wrestling?
It's
not surprising.
Yeah, he's done that a lot. I can't think of episodes specifically, but there have been instances where he just freaks out over something that he loves. So I think it was definitely in character. I like that a lot. Okay,
so we end this season with this myriad of events, not the least of which includes this epic, huge attack. Crowley leads the demons, Rowena leads the witches, the angels come a-smiting. Lucifer, who's okay with Dad now, has a hand of God, okay, and is ready to stab the darkness. The darkness wounds Chuck/God, but then somehow comes to the realization that, hey, he's not so bad after all. I need him after all. In the meantime, Sam agrees to be the mark of Cain to entrap her. When that doesn't work, Dean agrees to be the soul bomb to blow her up. What did you think about that massive end of season event? And how do you feel about the cliffhanger?
I liked the ending and the cliffhanger. I'm intrigued. I don't know where else they could have gone, and instead of pulling some other random monster from the Bible to force the next season to be about, so I'm interested to see if they can come up with a good enough reason to bring Mary back, because I don't know if it would be worth a cliffhanger if it's turns out to be a shapeshifter or something. Yeah.
I love Mary Winchester so much, so I'm very excited about it.
I have mixed feelings. The first is I love the battle. I thought that was an epic end to an epic season, actually. And I did like Rowena by that point a little, because at least she was convinced to take on the mantle. So first, half of this cliffhanger is Valerie from the Vampire Diaries gets a second life. Those of us who are on the Vampire Diaries panel, which is all of us but Vic, I don't think we're all big fans of her. I'm dismayed to see her. She's a woman of letters. Apparently she went off to explore the world as a vampire and became a woman of letters. Who knows? I don't know where this is going to go. They, of course, left a cliffhanger where she shot Sam. I actually thought they were...
That's pretty standard, though, I think.
Well, and I thought they were foreshadowing yet another iteration of his death, and I think he's going to be fine. She didn't have to shoot him in the heart.
Well, because they've got that... Is that Reaper still after them? Too?
Yeah, she helped, and she's, I'm sure, still wants them to stay dead if they die, which happened in this season.
Yeah.
He got shot, and we thought was dead. Dead to the point where Dean killed himself in that episode to try to save him, which was kind of dumb.
Yeah, there could be just sort of an arc of trying to save Sam from, like, a spirit world, maybe. Like, if he does die and Dean's trying to bring him back, I don't know.
I don't think he's dead. There's nothing... We didn't see where the bullet went. We just see her go bang, and then it goes to Dean in the woods, and he finds the ghost of Mary, the what of Mary? I don't know.
I don't remember. How did he get... I mean, we don't really know how he got transported there. Who transported him?
In the darkness, that was her one thing for him that she could do for him, and so I think she brought, what I took from it, that she brought back his mom from being dead. So I think she's alive.
Oh.
Because she says, I do, because she says,
yeah, that's what
I want to do something for you. There's only one thing I can do for you, or something like that. And then you see him in
my hope.
His mom.
Yeah, that's my hope anyways.
That's
She's
fascinating.
genuinely alive, because I just really want to see them with a parent aside from John. Like, we've seen Mary before, we've seen variations of her, but just to see kind of her true self, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting.
If she's not alive or whatever, maybe he's got questions he wants to ask her or something, and then
which would still be
she's alive.
But I would Did you act so surprised when I said it? I thought everybody got that.
No, I didn't. Because I was a little bit confused with the transportation. You know, it sort of ends in that garden, and God in the darkness go, and then it goes over to the bar, and they're like, oh, the sun. And all of a sudden, you know, we go to the bunker, and Valerie shoots Sam, and then all of a sudden we're in the wood again. So I had forgotten anything that God in the darkness said by that point. And she also was presented in like this white dress. So
I think that's what she was wearing when she died.
Yeah, that's what she was. It was a
nightgown.
It was a nightgown.
So season
which
one.
Jessica was kind of in the
That's what she's wearing in the musical episode, or the character playing.
And me seeing her, my thing is, I hope whenever they decide to end Supernatural, they're able to convince Jeffrey Dean Morgan to come back.
I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan so much.
I know.
That'd be fantastic. But
maybe that means we'll see him this season.
He is on The Walking Dead, however, so he might be.
That's not going to last.
The current season of Walking Dead?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the current season.
I haven't seen any of it, but I'm pretty sure everybody
We
died.
met Bobby in heaven. Why can't we meet John in heaven? This is all I'm saying.
And we also see him
John
dead
in
after flashbacks, and
We do.
there's plenty you can do. I don't know if I find a different chapter of The Men of Letters as a good enough threat to end on compared to the last 10 seasons. So that part of it, I'm just focusing on the mom being there as a good enough cliffhanger to come back, because I feel like
I agree.
I don't think it makes sense for anyone who knows anything about supernatural things to be like, this is all your fault, because they saved the world countless times.
True.
Yeah, but then
With
they
God's
also
approval?
did go into the whole, like Kylie mentioned earlier, like, forgetting about the greater good and just trying to save each other, and
Which they were knocked on a lot by, like, demons and angels and that sort of thing.
And God.
And God.
God said something.
Well, she has a line about how them meddling in things they don't understand, and I find that they've probably saved the most lives out of any hunters or people.
For reals. Like, they're the most
I think they get it.
dangerous hunters. Yeah, they're, like, famous almost.
Well, and again, I'm super dismayed that this actress is the one playing this woman.
Why don't you like the actress?
I liked her personally, but that's just
I
me.
mean, she was okay as Valerie, but she's really just going to be Valerie again, I guess is the way I'm looking at it. And
That could
that's
be.
how she's presented so far. And I I agree with you.
Is she literally playing the same character?
No, she's not.
No,
But there's a lot. All the CW shows, all the boy actors are friends, and
Yeah, they kind of recycle.
Yeah,
a
they
little
talk
bit.
to each other. I'm not a super big fan, and I agree with you, Nick. I don't think that part of the storyline is remotely intriguing. The only reason that I'm even remotely interested in season 12 is Mary Winchester.
I love Mary.
Basically. So I hope she's alive, because that would be cool. And maybe they'll also revisit People Can't Die. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, and I'm curious as to what the darkness did to Metatron. Is he just gone and dead and
I think
crushed?
he's gone.
I think he's dead. He
Okay.
sacrificed himself. He did the sigil, did the thing, and then she went bam, and he disintegrated into nothing.
For me, I
really like this story arc, so
He can come back from that.
I don't need him to come back. I just really love Curtis Armstrong. So.
Oh, I agree.
Well,
Me
he
too.
did a really great job in this season. Way more interesting as human Metatron, too, even.
Because I got to a point where I was like, we shouldn't care. He was such an evil... He did horrible things. We shouldn't care about this character. And then he talks about that with God. And it was a good scene and well written.
For me, it was just like with Valerie shooting Sam, it was pretty standard supernatural. Like they've done that so many times in the past, like with the car accident in season 1, and Sam dying and resurrecting in season 2, and season 3 with Dean going to hell. Like I could go on. So I just think that was pretty conventional for them.
It's not a good cliffhanger to be, is one of them dead?
Yeah, like they've done that so
No, they're
many
not going to
times.
be dead unless this is the end.
Yeah.
Maybe they had to give...
And a bullet's a bad way for them to go.
Maybe they had to give room for Jared to go do the Gilmore Girls revival for a little while.
That could be.
So in the interest of time, are you going to keep watching Supernatural?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. And would you recommend this show to others? I know I have.
Yes.
Many, many times.
I raise my hand. Thank you, Kylie.
Literally have begged my friends to watch it, and they all kind of do for like a season, and then they stop. But so
We need to
I
work
try.
on that a little bit more.
I try.
It feels more like a guilty pleasure for me, so I don't know.
I think I would just have a hard time recommending it at this point because you have 11 seasons to
That's
watch
true.
before you get caught up. Like it's
I started watching it. I watched seasons 1 through 9 right before season 10 came out.
Some people just don't have the determination to watch like all of these seasons, which is understandable because there are so many.
I did it. 8 seasons.
Well, and with that said, I would recommend that people not start at season 12. That would be not a good thing to do.
No,
and
not at all.
probably at this point, if you do want to watch it, you should wait until it ends. It's going to be hard for it to get a new audience just because there is so much catch-up that has to be done. But whenever it does end and all comes to Netflix, I think it's definitely a show that people should check out.
For sure.
There's a reason why it's been on for so long. Even though it's on the CW, it's still good, as season 11 is evident of. So with that said, I would like to thank Nick, Kelsey, Jen, Allie for joining me for our very first Supernatural panel. The next time that you hear from us will most likely be at least halfway through Supernatural season 12, because I'm sure they'll end on some fabulous mid-season finale that we'll have to digest. Until that time, as the intro indicated, we have several more new episodes coming down the pike. Looking back episodes, we have live events coming up. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, follow us at couchpotatorsunite.wordpress.com, subscribe to our channels at YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher Radio. There are a myriad of ways to find us, and we cover a lot of different shows. If there's any show that we don't cover that you'd like us to cover, please let us know. Send us a message at any of these sites. Until that time, stay tuned. Make sure you keep listening, keep watching, and if you like Supernatural, it will premiere in the fall on the CW. Thanks for listening. Bye.